This is 8.6 Blackout, and this is the Boombox by Q.
We invested in modern technology to develop a modern gun.
All I do is spin models all day. Just spin them around, look at them.
You know, we're not trying to sell you a Tacoma, we're trying to sell you a Ferrari.
Holy shit.
We are developing a gun around ammo that doesn't exist.
And it sounds like marketing bullshit. You know, the downside is it takes a lot of money and takes a lot of time. But you know, the upside is when you're successful, you're a decade ahead of everyone.
What?
Oh.
Fuck me.
What we identified was there's a 300-meter problem. Everyone seems focused on snipers or precision shooting or hunting. The what if I have to take a very long shot? Well, the truth is that's less than 1% of the time. So the weapon system to do 1,000-yard shots is gonna weigh 10 to 15, 20 pounds. So nobody wants to carry that all the time when 99% of your shots are inside of 300 meters. Lightweight and compact is of the utmost importance if you actually operate with a gun. And that's not just a soldier, that's hunting, that's in and out of a vehicle, that's under high stress. I live in Africa 6 months out of the year and I hunt 150 days a year. And I carry one of our guns on me in a vehicle or on my chest all day, every day for 150 days a year. Mitch and Nick, for probably a month or two of the year, are in Africa hunting the same as I am. So that's in a lot of different areas and a lot of different environments, up mountains, down mountains, long shots, short shots, when you're exhausted, just everything you can think of. And that really has helped us to understand the importance of lightweight and compact. So how do we maximize performance in that? AR-10, SR-25, current guns that have been available, they're just too big and heavy, so it's created a whole lot of stop gaps that have serious compromise, like 6-ARC. So they want a 1,000-yard gun, but they want it to be lighter weight than an SR-25. And you end up with something that's a compromise in reliability and doesn't really get you the performance that you want. We took the option of starting from scratch and doing something better. It's not that you just end up with an improved 300 Blackout. It can replace the designated marksman's rifle, the submachine gun, the assaulter's rifle. It'll replace the M4, the M16. It can replace the recce sniper rifles that exist. The platform can do everything and most everything better at a lighter weight and higher performance than what's currently available. And it sounds like marketing bullshit, but the real thing is most everything else that is used is based on stuff and materials from 2 or 3 decades ago or 100 years ago. We invested in modern technology to develop a modern gun. It's not that Stoner or John Browning weren't smart enough to do this. The main difference, we're talking 70 years after the AR-10 was developed. He didn't have the manufacturing methods and the materials, the alloys, to do what we were able to accomplish. As a matter of fact, we couldn't have built the Boombox in 2016 when we started because the alloys that allowed us to do it, primarily the bolt and the barrel extension and extractor, didn't exist until like 5 years ago.
With 300 Blackout, we had a military requirement for subsonic, supersonic, 30 caliber cartridge, getting shot out of a 416. It became successful in the military, successful in the commercial world, and then we had some military requirements pop up right after that where they were looking for shorter 7.62 guns. And the shorter you make the barrel, the bigger in diameter you want the bullet to be. So the initial concept was if we're gonna make shorter 7.62 guns for the military, we should look at a 338 size projectile. Something that sort of fits in the SR-25 mag already existed. It's the 338 Federal, but it doesn't feed as good as it really should if you want the reliability that the military requires. And one of the first projects we looked at was what is the best cartridge that'll fit in an SR-25 mag that's subsonic, supersonic, that shoots a 338 size projectile.
When we completed 300 Blackout, we knew that there was a bigger capability with the larger weapon system. We started with 338 Federal, and we ran into the same things where the case was too long to give us good subsonic performance. So it took years to develop the cartridge where we could get the super and subsonic performance.
Supersonic 8.6 is almost as fast as 338 Federal, but for subsonic 8.6, it's basically 300 Blackout with about 3 times the range, 3 times the lethality.
So the 8.6, it's an incredible cartridge. It is lethal. You know, your average rifle barrel twist is anywhere between a 1 in 9 and 1 in 12. This is a 1 in 3. The wound cavity that this bullet leaves behind is incredible. You know, it's spinning 3-4 times faster than anything else, and it is lethal. I mean, when you see a Barnes, you know, is petaled back and those petals are twisted because it's spinning so fast. I mean, it goes through bone. What it does to the lungs and on the opposite shoulder is incredible. It really is, whether it's the supers or the subs.
So I can have a compact, lightweight gun, you know, short barrel with a silencer. Supersonic capability with the fast twist is just as lethal as a 16-inch 308.
Well, we've shot everything with it, you know, buffalo down to Diker. And I've seen buffalo run off and die as if they were shot by a 416, you know. And it's not just the buffalo runs off and dies and everyone's happy and it's great. We've actually opened those carcasses up, you know, pulled the lungs out, pulled the heart out, found the bullets. We've got little metal detectors, you know. We've done the research and looked at it. And I can tell you now, the damage that 8.6 causes is incredible. You know, animals die fast.
Boombox, it's really the first time you get a SR25 size magazine that can shoot both subsonic and supersonic, but the importance of subsonic is when you're trying to either protect your hearing, avoid detection.
The big thing there is to have subsonic capability to 300 meters that will kill anything on the planet with a 1 in 3 twist. So it's just a new capability.
Having an 8.6 and a gas gun is a game changer. Basically, being smaller, lighter, and replacing the AR-10. I've shot the Boombox. I mean, it's compact, it's lightweight. Whether you're shooting super or subs, you do not want to be on the receiving end of that bullet from that gun, and it's freaking accurate. So you're in deep shit if you're on the other end and someone's got a Boombox and 8.6. If they're shooting subs, you're not going to know whether the thing blinks shit or turn on the lights because you're going to have no idea where it's coming from. And the subsonic that comes out of an 8.6 is anywhere from 315 to I think 370 grains depending on which bullet you're using. And it hits hard, let me tell you. It's a killing machine.
Comparing it with 300 Blackout, from manufacturers I heard all the same things. You know, there wasn't a firearms manufacturer or an ammo manufacturer that thought 300 Blackout would make any impact on any market, military or commercial. It would move the needle enough for anyone to consider it. I think we all knew in the first 2 weeks we were chasing it that it was going to change stuff. The US and NATO's adopted it, and you would think we've had a lot of success between 300 Blackout and 8.6, and we've mostly had these same conversations with the ammo manufacturers that over the last decade have made tens of millions of dollars off of 300 Blackout. And a lot of the firearms companies are still hesitant.
We're a little faster and a little looser. We try to get to the finish line quicker than standard. So normally, like say when I was at Browning, it would be not atypical to be 4 or 5 years to get a new product like the Boombox from initial concept to buy off in production. So doing that in a little over 2 seems like a long time, but it's actually like really, really fast. In order to do that, you've got to take some risk and spend some money. And a lot of companies aren't willing to do that. The first time we held a Boombox in your hands, you're just like, this is gonna change it. You know, this is everything. It ends today.
The most important thing I can do at this point is not get in the designer's way, fund them, create a great atmosphere for everybody to work, and for me not to get greedy.
Try really fucking hard and do the whole job. Like really, you know, that's what we do. It's not that we don't make mistakes, it's that we try to fail really fast, and that's it, like just go. The only thing you can really do incorrectly here is be indecisive, not go try some stuff. Like that's it. Like that's all we really ask people to do.
I think we expect more out of ourselves than any customer ever could, demanding to be innovative and chasing being the highest quality firearms company ever is important to us. And I think from an ownership perspective, you know, me and the core group of employees owning the company, you know, and we don't have to report to the bank or anyone, it gives us the freedom to chase something that maybe isn't a sure thing.
We're pretty rough on each other, so it makes like the technical decisions, technical discussions a lot easier, knowing that we can disagree. But the cool thing about it is we'll test everybody's idea if it makes even a little bit of sense. When you make such a light gun, like you're gonna find problems that you didn't know you were gonna have, and that problems that don't exist in guns that are currently on the market. We knew we needed a gas gun, and we wanted the same characteristics as the Honey Badger. Smaller, lighter. So originally when we started out with the Boombox, or what would become the Boombox, it was my project. But Mitch was doing well enough with the projects he was working on then. He was moving back to Michigan, but we really wanted to keep him.
I would say at the time he was, you know, he's young. He was young and inexperienced. He's in his early 30s now. And, you know, if you're at a bigger gun company, they will not allow you to be in charge of a project that size. Maybe it was because I was fortunate when I was young and successful, but it's like a baby shark is still a shark.
So what we ended up doing was saying, you can work remote, but this is your project. You have to see this thing all the way through. And he fucking crushed it.
Look at this bench.
It was so much less dramatic than I wanted. I went, action! I feel way more comfortable with a gun in my hand.
Find a boombox.
Oh shit, they're all out back. I'll grab one.
Boombox.
This guy's special.
Which one's that?
This was the final iteration of the extractor. So like, that was one of the biggest challenges, was getting the extractors to live. And like this was, I think we had the cameras rolling on the last like 5 shots, because it was like 5 more shots and we're done.
What was Kevin's initial request when it came to Boombox?
The request was 300 Blackout with 3 times the energy, 3 times the distance, and like fit in that magazine. A lot of people don't know that, but in gun design, that's where you start, is like, this is the most important part, is making sure that the magazine and the cartridge pair together correctly. We needed a gas gun that would shoot 8.6 reliably and be as light as we could. A lot of other gun designers or gun companies, like, you come into a project maybe halfway, or you know, as it started, and you got to pick up where somebody else left off, or try and make something else work and be constrained to parts or sizes or ideas. So this was really cool because it was, I mean, legitimately a blank sheet of paper, or a white paper, what we call it, but we as an engineering team had complete control of the design, which was huge, you know.
Mostly, I was tasked with making up the tasks, helping, I was the dictator at that time, or dictator of the project, yeah. Organization, checking drawings. You get to see in those documentaries all the fun parts. Like the unfun parts are like freaking poring over drawings and looking at little dimensions and measurements and crap like constantly. That's like actual engineering work. It really is just a series of bad times up to the good times.
Stoner, like a Jesus picture over
Yeah.
the bed for you? Is it
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the M16 as far as like a technical data package, it's a wildly well thought out, well engineered, and complete, we call it, you know, a TDP, a technical data package. Like, very rarely do you find something that wasn't done very intentional. And I feel like that's the way I was taught by Ethan. You know, that's how I got my start in guns, is I was Ethan's intern back at SIG. So, I mean, he taught me a bunch of that. Like, you don't make a decision on a gun part or a feature or a fillet or anything without a reason. You look at the carrier design of this gun, like compared to a mil-spec carrier that's made out of an older steel that requires some oil quenches and more complex heat treatment. Those parts turn to bananas. Like, when you heat treat them, they actually bend, distort. You gotta like post grind them, and then do all these multiple outside processes to get those parts to be what you need. And with these new steels, these aging steels and some of the stainless steels that we work with, like the heat treatment is so consistent and stable that we can make these parts very precisely and very repeatably in-house. So it's like, yeah, that was a huge step forward. I'd say Ethan probably pushed that one. Stuff that they used in aerospace, incredibly high yield strength steel.
Expensive too, I would assume.
Incredibly expensive. And that's where, like, people don't realize, the safe route with this gun would have been to make it like 30% bigger. That would have been way easier and way faster for us to do. But, the reason it's costly and the reason we use those expensive steels is we can squeak a lot of performance out of a tiny package. So.
I think it's kind of who Ethan is as an engineer as well. He loves manufacturing technologies and, just keeping an eye on all the alloys and materials that are being developed to where we can do the next thing that we're unable to do now. The downside is it takes a lot of money and takes a lot of time. But the upside is when you're successful, you're a decade ahead of everyone.
We're a startup company, so we joined this company from Nick, myself, and Ethan from day one. And I feel like when we became a real gun company was when we decided to do the fix. Like, that was a huge undertaking. And then when we became like a real like gas gun company is when we decided to do our own carrier.
So one of the biggest manufacturing improvements that we've had on the Honey Badger that carried over into the 8.6 is the creation of the two-piece carrier. So real similar to a standard mil-spec carrier functionally, but we split the carrier into two pieces, which makes it better for holding the tight tolerances that are on the inside of the carrier. So like this little piece is much easier to manufacture on modern equipment. They're not as sensitive to distortion during heat treat, better for us to hold the tolerances, and then we can do whatever we want in the back of the carrier. So instead of being restricted to basically a hole in the back of the carrier that a firing pin has to go through, now we can install tungsten buffer material into the back of the ass end. So.
Being able to use the more modern steels and simplify the manufacturing process, it just opened up the doors for us to have so much more control and consistency and quality in the parts. Because like with the Honey Badger, as we developed that, like we bought carriers, like what is essentially a mil-spec carrier, but modified for the Honey Badger. And we fought quality on those for years. It'd make you sick how many parts I would have to throw in the trash or, work with vendors to get them, replaced because they were not held to our tolerances or our specifications. At some point, you got to take the reins and control the parts yourself and, not rely on somebody else's design.
Like the original prototype one was, like a couple of pieces welded together. So like you can actually see the joint where I turned two pieces down and fused them together and did some weird stuff. I forgot about that. But, like that's what the carrier started as, which is actually probably 0.7 inches longer than what it is now. So like this was one case where I started too heavy and we decided to start slimming it down. So we found that the gun was incredibly reliable, and actually we figured we could make it a little shorter. So it got shorter. Yeah, I guess that's pretty representative of what it is now.
At this point, we had the general architecture of the gun laid out. We had several plastic 3D printed components, the handguard, charging handle, and top rail. Also several metal 3D printed parts. There were a few machine components. A barrel extension, a barrel, and an ass end that was welded up and machined from existing Honey Badger parts. We threw in literally the best trigger ever made. We had something that looked like a rifle.
Like the first rounds fired are through a 3D printed two-piece bolt carrier. So I had a carrier that was longer than a Honey Badger two-piece carrier, and I actually took a bunch of other parts and chopped them up and welded them together to get myself an ass end that was the right length.
Nick and I went behind the building, and zip tied the gun together to make sure it wasn't going to come flying apart when it cycled. Just as a proof of concept, you know, with like, I would say probably somewhere like 75% of the components were 3D printed. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been working on the pinch system in the Boombox upper. That's something we learned from the fix, where pinching the barrel extension in the receiver and taking out the clearance between the receiver and the barrel extension is a noticeable improvement on accuracy. The upper receiver is a lot longer in the front because it's got, we call it pinch geometry, but when that barrel extension slides into that receiver, you put a little screw in there. But like right now you have a slip joint, right? And every AR uses a barrel nut to attach that or drive that barrel into the receiver, but we use a pinch because if you just use that nut, there's still, you know, like there's still a little bit of place for that barrel to potentially move under firing. But when you pinch that barrel in place, you take out the clearance of it, and then you got a joint that won't come apart. So now you have what's essentially a zero clearance or a solid joint. So that helps a ton with accuracy and keeping the barrel in the same spot after every shot. Historically, barrel nuts are torqued on extremely high, which is great to keep your barrel still and keep it in the same place as you're shooting. But that makes getting them apart difficult if you ever want to rebarrel or ever need to service the gun, like to swap out a barrel after many, many thousands of rounds. So by adding a pinch, I can grab onto that barrel extension real tight and also drive it with a little bit less torque. So it's easier to change it without super special tools, or you can change this with a custom tool to get the barrel nut off and then just a normal vise block. So to give you an idea of what this pinch is doing, so hey Matt, so this is just 50 inch-pounds. Just torque that guy on there, no barrel nut. See if we can pull this apart.
You win.
So she's tight. Now that I've got geometry that actually is grabbing the barrel extension, it's not a very scientific test, just pulling Matt across the room. But what we'll do next is we'll probably either set up a force gauge to measure how much like clamp we're actually getting, as well as go to the range and test it. Like, it's pretty easy to test it if you have a gun that has no pinch and you shoot a group, a real accuracy group, not just, a few shots, not a 3-shot group. Like, we'll do some serious accuracy testing with these barrels and then go ahead and pinch it and see if we can measure an improvement. We debated about how tall we were gonna make the gun, and like, it was a very deliberate decision to make it taller. Like, we didn't want to make the gun heavy, but by increasing the height of the upper receiver and the top rail, so your height over bore goes up a little bit, we can get a screw above the handguard and below. So when we put the handguard on, there's 2 screws that drive it into the upper receiver.
The handguard attachment mechanism, like, that was brilliant. Being able to hide those screws the way they do. It's the stiffest handguard we've ever tested, but it's also the slimmest and smoothest thing that's on the market now.
A lot of handguards are a system that slip over a barrel nut and then you either pinch them or try and wedge them in place. And instead of that, we have direct clamping force screwing this thing to the upper receiver, which in my head, that was the best way to get the thing as close to like a monolithic design where like the 2 parts are one. So not only do we drive it into place, but then just like on the barrel, we have a pinch on the bottom of the handguard. So when you start loading things like lasers or clip-on night vision on the front of the gun, with that handguard having 0 clearance, it can't go anywhere. We had to add some rigidity to it to make sure it was strong enough under load. But when the load's removed, the 0 retention is perfect.
You think about the Lewis machine and tool gun, which is a great gun, but it's a 1-piece upper. And so then it causes the gun to be even heavier than an SR-25. So yeah, how do you get that rigidity? It's like, okay, so we have to grow the height of the gun slightly. And turns out it's the right move. There's really no penalty for it. Also, making the handguard without the top rail rigid enough that you can have optic mounts and do away with the 1913 rail. So you do away with parts and weight. I demand that it be ergonomic, but then using the shape of this handguard to make it strong in that direction when you load the bipod. So that was a whole nother thing. And then also, as always, keeping it lightweight.
this is about as thin as I'm willing to make this top rail. We've actually found the limit on, we're looking at adding, an SD version or a shrouded version to these. Like you can see, some of these are chopped up, but like we're gonna, bolt these two together, and like the reason we're not selling this right now is it's not correct yet. Like I'm gonna add some height to that top rail and give it a little bit more backbone or stiffening between that joint. And that's really because, the beauty of a handguard like this is there's no joint between it. It's one continuous, stiffening rib. So when we add this, pretty thin top rail, which is the production version, it just snaps right on the top and like actually does give you even more rigidity between, like this joint between the upper and the handguard is incredibly strong, but adding that extra rib, this gives you even more strength. The joint between, most handguards and upper receivers is, you wouldn't trust that joint for, deflection or zero return. But I mean, part of the problems with ARs is you want that scope quite a bit farther forward. That's why everybody does a big cantilevered scope mount, is to get that scope or that objective away from your face as much as you can. So since we have that continuous top rail where there's not actually a joint, it's one continuous piece, yeah, like it pisses people off, but we'll mount scopes over the top, between the joint of the handguard and the top rail. And shit, we've mounted red dots on the end of the handguards or the end of the top rail, and the internet like is broken when we do that. Like people lose their shit, but if you want a quick sighting, like quick target acquisition, having that, just like a shotgun bead being way out at the end of the barrel, it's so fast to pull up and put that bead or that red dot on a sight.
With the first iteration of the upper and lower together, I'd assembled a gun that was functioning. It still had a 3D printed bolt carrier, an old shorty stock, and an extra thick 3D printed handguard for rigidity. After a few shots downrange, it was time to put it to the test.
I have shot so many animals with the 8.6 now. Oh, I'm a total believer.
I have yet to kill many things with sub, and that's my goal with this trip.
Killed the beaver last night.
Did you?
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, was it?
We're gonna get a beaver after dinner tonight.
Should have a shot before I do this. Okay, tell me when. This is 8.6 Blackout, and this is the Boombox by Fix. So we took all the awesome things.
Thank you.
This is 8.6 Blackout, and this is the Boombox by Q. So we took the Honey Badger, we scaled it up a little bit, we added all the cool things that we did on the Fix that worked so great, like a full-length top rail, we got pinch on the barrel extension, we got handguard drive, shorty stock. Just might be the greatest thing you've ever seen.
That looks like a killer.
Yep.
There's a lot of weird shit going on. It's cobbled together, but so this is a 3D printed handguard on it. Like she's pretty early yet.
Dude, the fact that you brought it, I am stoked.
Here we have the very first prototype of the Boombox. She's pretty cobbled together. Lots of file marks, lots of quick decisions after a few bush lights, but she's alive and running. So change the world, right? Good enough for me.
You guys are doing good stuff. Good stuff. You deserve a raise, Mitch.
Oh, man.